Hey, what's up, fellas?
Uh,
How's everybody's morning starting out?
Not bad.
So, as always, our new segment, we got the Sunday Selection Showdown, couple rotation of guys. We got Sean back this week, and then Dame's joining us this week. Courtney and Robbie have some prior obligations that they had to take care of today, but we got their picks in, and Courtney, the guru of guessing, has some hot takes this week, and we'll see how that works out for him. And then, as always, Robbie has his own batch of selections that he thinks he's going to go. What do you say, like 11-4 this week?
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out. I forget the actual breakdown, but Robbie is leading after last week. Poor Sean is in the basement.
I'm like Joe Biden in a basement.
But I think last week we had a bunch of shocks and a bunch of, I feel like, a couple surprises for how teams played, what we thought our outcomes were. I think out of all the games, there was 2 games where we had unanimous picks across the staff, and they did not win. Obviously, Jacksonville beating Indy was one of them, and then Dallas losing to the LA Rams was another one. That one was, I feel like the Jacksonville one was a little bit more shocking than the Rams. But
And my Detroit Lions had to drop a touchdown pass at the end of the game.
That was another one. There's a lot of games that came down to either the kicker, unfortunately, or like just one play. And as we all know, that hurts. But again, that's why they call it any given Sunday. So jumping right into it. So recapping off of our Thursday game that obviously already happened. We had Cleveland hosting Cincinnati. As a staff, we were pretty split up. But then Courtney and Robbie took that one home. So they already started the week off with a dub. This game was actually kind of shocking to me. I thought with how both teams came out week 1, that was going to be a little bit different of an outcome. But the Browns really used their run game and really just tormented the Bengals, even though the Bengals were able to keep it within a score, but they just couldn't get enough steam to finish it off.
I think if the Bengals just work a little bit more around Joe Burrow, they could be a very dangerous team.
Yeah,
Agreed.
if they bolster their O-line, Burrow's going to be dangerous. He's already looking good, and
his leadership.
If they can get him some protection.
Yeah, if they can add to the O-line and then maybe get a little defensive help, or just the guys that are in that room now kind of start figuring things out a little bit more,
they can win the division.
I think that they could be very dangerous. I mean, I know we're used to more high-scoring games sometimes, but again, to score 30 points in any real level of football is a success for most offense coordinators because that means you're scoring at least once a quarter. But obviously, if they can get some defensive help, I mean, there was times in the second half I generally thought that the Bengals were going to take over, and then the Browns would just run it down their throat, and then
run the damn ball. Literally, run the damn ball with Cleveland.
And like I said, I don't want to take away from Baker, even though Baker's been on kind of like a hot seat lately. I don't want to take away from him, or again, as much as I don't really enjoy OBJ, and I think Landry Jones is a good wide receiver. Even with those weapons, I still think they need to focus a lot on the run game and let the pass game come to them.
You have 2 really good running backs. You have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubbs. I mean, literally, like, come out and what? Come out with both of them behind the ball, both of them behind
yeah.
just
And the
because
thing
can't
is,
Kareem Hunt
both of
can't
them
Kareem
can catch
Hunt
out of the backfield.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can't he catch out of the backfield? So
Yeah.
that's
caught one
like a
of the touchdowns.
threat.
Yeah, I mean, both of them have extreme talents as running backs. I mean, right now, I mean, obviously Kareem Hunt, given not what happened with him or that he did, he'd probably still be starting for the Chiefs and having a way bigger contract than he does now. And again, he could easily start anywhere right now, outside of like maybe a handful of teams that have like franchise running backs right now in their organization. So again, that's going to be like we were joking off camera. I really hope they run the ball, but then whenever they play the Steelers here in a couple weeks, I hope Stefanski gets a little fancy, decides to put the ball in Baker's hands.
Which I think he will, because the Steelers' run defense is just.
Yeah.
I mean, you hold Saquon Barkley. You hold Barkley to what, 15 yards? That's
6. He had 6 rushing yards that game, and Ben had 9.
6 rushing yards. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of two other teams that have really nice run games, and hopefully we get to watch that. So you got Indianapolis hosting Minnesota. Courtney is going to be the outlier here, thinking that the Colts are going to have enough to take down Minnie. At least for me, I think the Vikings offensive line or offensively has enough weapons that they're going to give Indy kind of some trouble. But then Vikings defense, I really like. Also, last week, I think a lot of people gave Carson Wentz, which I'm actually or Kirk Cousins, a lot of shit for his play, which I'm very surprised Courtney didn't go with his boy Kurt. So this is kind of a surprise pick for Courtney. But yeah, I kind of like the Vikes in this one. I think
Dalvin Cook's going to go off on them.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
Marlon Mack being down and then having the rookie Jonathan Taylor having to take over is going to be interesting. I think he's going to be able to do it. He did it last week. And then their third string, which I forget his name off the top of my head.
Naheem Hines.
Yeah, he had a game too last week with Marlon Mack going down. So that's going to be interesting.
Yep. For the Vikings, as poor as their defensive backfield played against the Packers last week, they'll probably be on the lookout to step up and play a little angry. But on the offensive end, they'll have an old pal of theirs. Xavier Rhodes will be playing across from Adam Thielen, so it should be an interesting game to watch.
Yeah, that should definitely be like. It's kind of like a love-hate how many games are on at 1 o'clock, because I wish I could have all of these games on at once.
NFL Red Zone.
Yeah.
NFL Red Zone, yeah. DirecTV Sports Mix.
Yeah.
A couple things that you can have fun with. Or just having like 6 TVs and just having a war room.
Yeah, for real.
So speaking of teams trying to kind of continue to figure things out, we got the New York Giants traveling to Chicago this week. This is going to be one of our unanimous picks that the staff had. The Giants are still working things out. They're a young team. Obviously, with a new coach, you're still trying to figure things out. Unfortunately, the Giants had to play the Steelers, like we kind of talked about last week. So kind of a hard game to kind of work shit out on. But then Chicago, surprisingly, even though they had some issues off field in like the front office, I feel like they've kind of figured things out. Allen Robinson, I guess, kind of hashed things out with the front office and made nice, and they're working on an extension. Tariq Cohen, they just finalized today a new contract extension for him. So the Bears right now are definitely trying to get things rolling. I didn't get to watch the Bears game last week, but nobody was really talking any mess on social media about Mitch Trubisky, so he must have not done that bad.
Yeah,
He had a
I
hell of a
don't think he
game
did.
last week, actually.
Yeah, I think his QBR was pretty nice too. Like a QBR rating was actually decent.
If you were to base, go for it.
Yeah.
But if you were to base the season on week 1, people would be saying Trubisky's better than Baker right now, even with all the talent being so disparaged in Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, between the
yeah,
talent of both
Chicago's
rosters, I mean, yeah, you would think Baker would be able to do a lot more.
And this is Baker's third year?
Yes. So
I think
this
it's
is kind of
both
one of
of
those
their third
dudes
years.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah, he's got to figure it out by now.
But Chicago's defense isn't too much worse. I wouldn't say they're that far behind the Steelers' defense in terms of talent. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're holding Saquon to 6 yards again, but it's going to be difficult. Like that O-line on New York Giants, they're going to have to really play their best.
So Tariq Cohen's new contract is a little weird. So new deal is worth $17.25 million in new money, with the opportunity of a max of $18.25 million. Almost 9.5 fully guaranteed, with a max of 12.04 max guaranteed.
I guess
so they must have a bunch of stuff built in that his money can flex, probably between roster bonuses and different stat things.
All the whole new cap thing too. Like,
yeah, that's going to be different with next year. But again, it's nice seeing guys get signed, especially going into week 2. I know the Steelers usually shut it down at the beginning of the season. Then every once in a while, some teams make those changes as the season goes on. But hopefully they can get Robinson locked down too and make him happy and continue on their success. So on to another team that had great success last week, and then another team that's still trying to figure things out. So we have the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the LA Rams. So obviously last week the Rams, I'll say, stunned the Dallas Cowboys with their win. Aaron Donald looked like another man on a mission to wreck the entire NFL. If I was Zeke, I'd have to question myself by getting thrown by one arm into my quarterback.
Zeke, listen, Aaron Donald is just a different. He's just a dude.
He's definitely a different human being.
He's the monster. Like
just like the post yesterday with The Rock joking around about ripping his security
gate off.
Like there's a small group of humans that are able to do that with probably little to no effort. And and Aaron Donald's one of those dudes. Like watching his highlights from that game.
Oh my god,
he was literally throwing grown individuals, 300-pound individuals around like it was nothing.
The poor left guard and center that one play.
Oh,
came in and
Jesus! He's just a different, and that's basically the biggest reason why I picked the Rams out of this one. The Eagles' offensive line, obviously, unfortunately, right now is just beat up. Last week, Carson Wentz had the week's highest, taking 8 sacks. A lot of it they're saying is because he held onto the ball too long. But
he's gonna get hurt if he holds onto the ball too long.
That and I think Miles Sanders is back this week, so maybe that run game will help him. But still, like, I don't have much faith in the Eagles, unfortunately.
Yeah, even though the Rams, like when
one
they beat
thing-
Dallas last week, it was a stun for us for Dallas, but it's Dallas Cowboys. Like,
Yeah.
The one thing I will say that kind of leans towards the Eagles is their tight end play, because the Rams are going to struggle to cover both of those tight ends because they don't have anybody in the middle of the field. They got their whole defensive backfield, like Jalen Ramsey and John Johnson the third, but their linebacker core, I think, has been imploded and all over the league now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they have anybody that can stay with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a matchup that's going to be fun to watch, because even though Ertz is kind of going through, I guess, some things with his contract and feelings with the team, they still both play lights out. And obviously Wentz likes his tight ends, but it's going to be a very interesting matchup here because I do think it's going to be a matchup of the defenses.
Yeah.
So that's going to be definitely a fun one to watch. So this is going to be another one that I think it's going to be close, but I still think it's going to turn out to be the team that the staff chooses. So we have Jacksonville going into Tennessee. As you can obviously see, the staff unanimously picks Tennessee. And
Jacksonville scares me though in this
Jacksonville scares me just because, like, they're going to continue to be like that outlier week in and week out. Like, I feel like I'm going to consistently underestimate them, but then they're going to shock the shit out of me every week. Because I think Jacksonville has a young, especially I'll say a young mindset, I guess, of like, we don't give a fuck what you think.
Yeah.
And everybody was thinking, oh, they're tanking, they're getting rid of everybody. But then you have guys like Gardner Minshew that's like, we're here, we're gonna do this. But I think at least right now with Tennessee's run offense,
Derrick Henry's just gonna
too dynamic.
Yeah. Here's the thing though, is if I'm the front office of any NFL team and I have Jacksonville on my schedule at the end of the season and I'm trying to make playoffs, I'm gonna be like, listen, we need to win as many as we need to clinch playoffs before Jacksonville, because Jacksonville could be that team that, oh, we just need one win. You're playing Jacksonville. You might not get it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely like I said, this is now week 2 where we're kind of picking against them. And like I said, they're just a different animal right now. They're not enough there for me to say, you know what, I'm going to take that pick on them. But they're definitely an interesting team to watch.
My thing is, I'll always pick Derrick Henry against Jacksonville, because even if you watch back the previous seasons, he could be having his off weeks, and then they go into Jacksonville, or Jacksonville comes into Tennessee, and 200 yards, 4 touchdowns was the one game in the end of 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And then both games they played Jacksonville last year, Derrick Henry had the best games of his season until the playoffs. So, I mean,
Derrick Henry is just another like non-human animal.
He's another one of those naturally strong athletes that got even stronger because of the weight room. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not very many 6'2", 6'3" running backs ever in the league that's able to do stuff like he's able to do. And like
he's like 6'3", 235.
Yeah. And being able to move like he does, and then use people as human shields like he did to Earl Thomas last year. Like, that's not a typical thing that people are able to do.
Turn defenders into lead blockers.
Yeah. So out of the next 4 games, these are all going to be unanimous picks. But moving on to another team that I think is going to actually get a run game going, and then another team that's dealing with injuries. So we got the Steelers versus Denver. The run game I'm talking about, I think Benny Schnell is going to start getting the nod a lot more. I haven't seen if I think Connor's able to go and he might start.
I think he's questionable though too.
Yeah.
He's questionable.
But I think if he's there, they're going to continue to look at him first. But with a quick change out to Snell. Snell last week was, I think, third in the league for rushing.
Yeah.
And I like how he runs. Even in college, he was a one cut, get north and south, and make things happen. And it's one of those times where you see a new quarterback come in, a new running back come in, and you just feel like the energy has changed a little bit. I feel like holes started popping open for him. And that's where he got a lot of his gains was off of big chunks. But he had a nice couple runs. But then again, talking about a team that's dealing with injuries, Denver, they just lost Philip Lindsay for they said 2 to 4 weeks. I think it was Achilles or an ankle, something like that. But obviously they still have Melvin Gordon, so they can obviously rely on him. They have my boy from Oregon, Royce Freeman. I think is it Cameron Sutton? Their wide receiver.
Yeah. No, Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton. It's one of those. He's still kind of banged up. And obviously Von Millerless defense is still kind of brutal for Denver. Last Monday night, this was whenever they played Tennessee. I was actually really rooting for them to win, even though I had Tennessee picked. I really like Drew Lock. Especially, he's another young, dynamic quarterback. He had a couple plays that were very Patrick Mahomes-esque, but with how the Steelers' defensive secondary and just defensive line came on last week against the Giants, it's hard for me picking against the Steelers against I'll say at least a questionable team right now.
You could call me crazy on this too, but Benny Snell, and talking about Snell, you could call me crazy, but like I watch him run, he reminds me a little bit of like how Le'Veon Bell cuts to the holes.
Yeah.
Like he creates space.
He's not as slow. He's not a slow stepper like Bell was, but he finds the hole and goes.
Yeah.
He's Benny Snell. What I'd relate to a very good zone running back, where again they talk slow to fast through, and that's what he does. He kind of takes his time, and it's not like a pitter patter in the backfield, but he finds that hole and then he explodes through it.
But he definitely has to work on his blocking game when it comes to that. Like,
a young guy like that, I mean, it's going to come.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So, again, another team that is seemingly looking like they're on a high turn for the season, and then another team still trying to find themselves. We have Buffalo winning this week with them going down to Miami. So, with me, that defense looked really nice last week. And right now, Josh Allen looks like he is really figuring it out. With the addition of Stephon Diggs, I think it's helping him even more. And then Miami right now, again, unfortunately, it's still Miami.
I was torn. I was torn with this because when I watched Miami play against New England, I thought like for a second, all right, Miami might upset Bill Belichick again, but then like that second half, they just fell apart. So I was like, yeah, that's why I had to pick Buffalo.
They're still so they might have some veteran guys, but they have an overall young dynamic. So it's still going to take them a little bit to get all there.
But do you start Tua though?
No.
No.
I mean, I feel like
Another week or
trying to
two.
throw him in now is too much. I say you give at least Fitzmagic till like week 4 or 5 to get comfortable before you try to basically go to your last, not your last. Well, it's basically your
last resort
because I don't know
if you threw.
So
if you threw Tua to this defense, it would be like throwing a chicken to the slaughterhouse, anyways. So
yeah,
he'd just run around in the backfield with his head cut off, and then get his head cut off by like Tremaine Edmonds or Ed Oliver.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too is like the Bills' defensive front seven, and I mean even like their back end with Tre'Davious White. I mean, yeah, this isn't a defense that I'd really want to mess with.
They've got one of the best safety duos in the league.
Yeah, I'd have to look at their schedule, meaning for the Miami Dolphins, to see if at all where I would say, you know what, like it wouldn't be bad at this point to see Tua get a shot. But at least right now for me, and especially how Fitz does play, again, I'm going to give him some time before he really does or really gets like really the cane. So I just pulled it up real quick. So Dolphins have Bills this week, Jags next week, Seattle, 49ers, Broncos, Chargers, Rams, Cardinals. So like because then they play Cardinals, Jets, they play Jets back-to-back weeks.
That's crazy.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Maybe I would throw him in Tua in maybe
I would say the Jags
game.
The Jets or the Jags game. I mean, maybe the Jags.
The Jags might be a little too early. The hard part, like you get into such a buzzsaw, like maybe the Broncos because their defense isn't crazy.
Right.
But like then you get into the Chargers that have a crazy front seven. You have the Rams that are just going to kill you.
Yep.
Like maybe the Cardinals, and you pray to God like Chandler Jones doesn't saw him in half.
Doesn't play.
Yeah. But then like now looking at the schedule, having to play the same team back-to-back weeks.
Has that ever even happened?
Is there a bye week between that?
No,
no, I don't even see a bye week.
15th
They're
to
not
the
gonna.
29th.
So yeah, that's 14 days. 15th. There's a bye week in between that.
Oh, okay.
Which I mean, still
that's still a little weird. Like I know the Steelers had to go through that last year, 2 years ago, where they played the Cleveland Browns like a week out from each other because they had a game.
we went Browns, Bengals, Browns the last 3 weeks of our season.
That's so weird. But yeah, so it might be a minute until Tua, at least for me as a coach, it would be you'd have to wait until either the Broncos game or then you really have to wait until the Cards, Jets. That way you're not feeding them to the Wolves. Because
you said with the Cardinals, it's like feeding them to the Wolves.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's brutal.
I'm thinking the Jets.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Jets too.
That's just brutal. Poor guy. But speaking of another poor team that's going to have a pretty rough week, so Detroit travels to Green Bay. So I didn't have a trouble picking this game.
No.
But the vintage Aaron Rodgers and Courtney is probably puking somewhere hearing me say that. The vintage Aaron Rodgers being back, and obviously Devontae Adams is his boy, but them two hooking up like they did last week, and now they have to. Now they're hosting Detroit, that also had like a rocky start to the season, kind of. This one might be just bad.
This is going to be. I'll call. It's probably going to be a blowout.
I mean, Matt Patricia might not be able to get on the plane on the way home, or the bus. Like I feel like this is going to be one of those moments that whatever network this is on, that they tell them to follow Matt Patricia as much as possible. Because the look on his face might be real bad.
It's gonna look like Bill Belichick on the Norm.
Well, what's wild too is, like, again, as a professional defense coordinator, you have to prepare for everything. But you can imagine they're like, oh shit, AR-12's back.
Yeah.
Let's gear up for the pass. And let's not forget they have Aaron Jones in the backfield. Like,
yep.
And you could probably run like 3 times and just like run twice and air out. And
I mean,
the issue Detroit's looking at this week is their best corner is out already. He's been ruled out since yesterday or 2 days ago, and facing Devontae Adams with, well, shit. Even I don't even know if Jeff Okuda's even listed as playing now this week again.
Yeah, he was still
So Devontae Adams going up against a nobody defensive back at this point.
3rd, 4th string DBs.
Yeah. So whoever's watching has Devontae Adams as their pick on there. You keep him on your pick on your fantasy.
He's gonna have back-to-back 40-point weeks.
He might put up like 40 points
again.
So another game that I feel like is going to be real interesting. This one actually came down to a hard pick for me, but 2 teams coming off of L's that I guess kind of had some high preseason expectations. You got the Carolina Panthers traveling down to Tampa Bay. Obviously, last week, Brady had a rough one. Their offensive line just got baptized.
And believe me, and New Orleans Saints defensive line is like
it's Cam Jordan. That's about it. I mean, I feel like the Saints kind of dialed up some good blitzes.
And the Saints is my team. Like, that's my team, but their defense is suspect.
Yeah.
They're always gonna allow points. That's their problem. They're good defense. They're susceptible to points being put up on them because they're on the field so damn much, because their offense drives down the field almost effortlessly and scores.
But I think the front 7 of the Carolina Panthers is my main focus on this one. Again, with Matt Rule coming in, they literally took every one of their draft picks under Matt Rule and spent it on defense, and already had some defensive pieces there. I unfortunately see another frustrating day for Tom Brady. I think he gets some more guys into the flow. Like Gronk only had, I think, 3 targets last week. I think he gets him more into the mix. I also think CMC comes into this game with some fire under his ass.
Please, because I have him. Please.
After last week of more or less getting shut down, I feel like he comes in with a little bit more fire. I hope they don't try to have Teddy Bridgewater do more than he needs to, because then that could get that offense in trouble. But this is going to be a very interesting game because, I mean, Tampa Bay still has a really nice defense, but
Is Mike Evans in? Is he playing or is he out?
Mike Evans is playing. Chris Godwin has been ruled out.
Yeah, he's in
so.
concussion protocol. So that's another interesting thing of missing a piece. Because Goodwin was like the guy that Tom kept focusing on last week.
Right. He's going to be the wide receiver to benefit the most off Tom Brady being there because he's their 5-yard slant, run for 80-yard type of receiver.
Yeah. But then, obviously, transitioning out of this game to another team that is going to get probably just mollywopped this week. So we got the San Francisco 49ers traveling up to New York. As you can see, as a staff, we had another unanimous pick here.
The Jets are just nothing, okay?
I hope a team doesn't go winless this year, but if one team could, it's going to be the Jets.
Yep.
Bell is now injured.
Again.
I think I think they put him on that short-term IR.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, especially right now, if you're put on that short-term IR,
you're done.
Not good. I think it's his calf. But it's still not good.
And I don't understand. Like you have him, like anywhere Bell goes. Like I wouldn't want Bell on my squad because injury or weed, one of the two. Like the man can't. Like,
the potential stats is there, but then it's like at what risk? Because then you have a season like this that it's week 2, and he potentially might not play due to injury. So it's almost like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's either he's injured or he's high, and you can't get him the like what he all the years he played with the Steelers. What he played one full
season, yeah,
and then one it paid. Right, like
yeah, that and like the Jets. Before I couldn't tell you who their wide receiving core is, but now that Anderson went to Carolina, I don't have a clue who's their wide receivers. Unfortunately, Sam Darnold continues to get like the shit end of the stick of that argument.
Yeah.
Again, it's almost like a Deshaun Watson. Like, not that I think that Sam Darnold's in that same comparison of Deshaun Watson, but it's one of those, you have a horrible front office and like, what would you like me to do with most teams' third string wide receivers and a back that's never around? Or again, their offensive line doesn't help either much.
No.
And then unfortunately last year, not so much this year, but last year, their defense was just depleted by injuries. And even with some of those guys coming back, it's just not a good thing for them.
I think the only thing San Francisco problem with is Kittle. Kittle's out.
Kittle's down. But again, who was it? Damn it. I always forget their running backs' names, even though I have them on one of my teams. Molster, I think. He went off for like 41 fantasy points last week. Honestly, with a run game like that, Jimmy G's another quarterback that I kind of hesitate, but I'd say let him be a manager. And again, I'm trying to change that word from a swear word in the NFL, but like you see it all the time in college, like good quarterbacks manage the game.
Yeah.
Just let it happen, bro. Like, don't force it.
Believe me, I have Jimmy G and Tom Brady on my fantasy, and I'm like, I don't know whether to put Jimmy G over Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And especially with a lot of the injuries for San Francisco's wide receivers, they did just pick up Mohamed Sanu, so that might help. But, like, Debo and all those guys, they're still dinged. So like they don't have much of a wide receiving core, or at least not like their starting wide receiving core. So let Jimmy G just hand off the ball, take shots when he needs to, and basically don't fuck it up. D Ford's another guy that's probably out for the 49ers this week. I'm just watching NFL Game Day. I don't even know who Jamison Crowder is. Apparently he's dinged for the Jets. Dame, I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Nope.
Fixie.
Yeah, I don't know who Crowder is either.
But like, I mean, obviously if I was more of a Jets fan, I might know, but he's definitely not a league name.
Yeah.
But transitioning there to hopefully a better game, and it's one of our games that we're actually split on. You have Dallas welcoming in to Jerry World, the Atlanta Falcons. This is going to be a very interesting game for me. I had to go ahead and go with Dallas, just because I think they're going to come in, or will welcome them in pissed off after dropping that game last week. ATL, I was kind of on the fence with.
Yeah.
But I more or less flipped the coin because I think, honestly, the stat line for this one was like 3 points. So basically, anytime they give 3 points to the home team, it's basically a wash in their opinion. So this is going to be a great one.
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a defensive struggle.
But I think Matt Ryan's just going to outplay Dak.
Bingo.
The thing, what'd you say?
He said bingo. Matt Ryan will outplay Dak.
I unfortunately think that Dallas is going to end up like, this is why I hated my pick at the same time. But I think Dallas is going to be Dallas and screw something up.
They won't let Zeke run. Guarantee they won't let Zeke run.
No, this is like one of those games that you're like, just run the fucking ball. But they're going to sit there and do some goofy shit and get like a penalty late or something very Dallas Cowboy-y and just screw it up. And I hate that I'm saying this against my pick, but I picked it because I hope they come in with a fire under their ass. Obviously being at home, but I just fuck. It's just the cow. It's like trying to, it's trying to pick the Cleveland Browns. As much as I want to pick them because of their defense or their run game, it's still just. Ugh.
And I think somebody said Cleveland would go 10-6 in our group this year.
I mean, if they run the ball and play like they did against Cincy, you never know.
And that's what possibly Dallas will be, 10-6.
But the other hard part is like right now it's like a tale of two teams with the Browns. Is you played Baltimore, which is they were already in like mid-season form, which it's hard to say that, but you went against one of the best teams in the NFL, and you looked like dog shit. And then you played, I'll say, a basement team trying to work themselves back up, and you look good, but you still only won by 5 points. So like, it's still such like a weird pick.
And the only reason they won by 5 is because Cincinnati couldn't fire the cylinders in the end.
Yeah, they basically stalled out. So another questionable pick that I had, and I feel like it's going to be a very interesting game, and it's going to come down to a close one. So we picked fairly unanimous except for Sean, and watch, this will be the first one that Sean actually wins.
By himself,
By myself.
But you got Arizona welcoming in the Washington football team. Washington football team had a hell of a game last week, even though the score didn't really present it that way. But I mean, they got after Wentz like crazy. This is another one that I got very questionable, but I hesitate to try to pick with Sean. But that defensive line is a terror,
and I think that's what's good. That's what they're going to do. They're going to terrorize.
Unfortunately, Arizona doesn't have the greatest offensive line. I think and I hope Kingsbury has it designed that Kyler Murray gets the ball out of his hand quick. But we don't know. AZ, especially this year, is going to cause a lot of questions week in and week out for picks. Robbie's the only one that picked them to win last week on with the, I guess, presumable shocker, the San Fran last week. But I'm still going to ride with Cardinals just because Kyler
he just can't agree with me. That's all.
Well, that too. But I like Kyler and Hop. It's just the bad part is Kyler and Hop have to deal with probably one of the deepest D lines in the NFL right now.
And I think the problem with Cardinals is they're going to want Murray to run to use his feet, and as
much as I like Kenyon Drake, he's not a typical bell cow. So that it's not like you can rely on him to draw more attention to him versus Kyler.
Yeah.
At least for me. Go ahead.
Kingsbury came from Oklahoma, right? I'm not tripping.
No, Kingsbury came from Texas Tech, where he had Pat Mahomes.
Okay.
That's basically what I guess solidified his offensive, or his, not only his offensive resume, but then like his resume to come into the NFL he kind of made Pat Mahomes what Pat Mahomes was in college, allegedly. I mean, Kingsbury's also been a great offensive mind throughout the years, especially in college. And then, I mean, for the most part, last year and so far this year, it's been worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Speaking of teams that are in, whenever we were talking about mid-season form, the Baltimore Ravens, another unanimous pick for us. Man, are they good?
They are.
Yeah.
So J.K. Dobbins got a lot of work last week. I still think Mark Ingram's going to be their main. I guess Mark Ingram boogered up his ankle or something like that last week. So with the game being kind of already solidified against the Browns, they shut him down, which kind of worked out because then you get your rookie running back going early. But damn, once again, it was the Browns, but then obviously the Browns showed that they can play. So again, it still has me questioning the Ravens. Obviously today will be maybe
they're gonna have Deshaun Watson on his back toes all game.
I generally feel bad for two individuals on Houston's roster, J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
J.J. Watt had to endure his entire career with this team that seemingly didn't put any other talent kind of on the roster as a whole. And then,
but he's also injury prone too.
Well, I mean, yeah. But then once you got some talent, you shipped it off for a bag of chips and an IOU. Deshaun Watson, unfortunately, was signing. I mean, thankfully, he didn't sign a Pat Mahomes 10-year deal. Because if I was him, I would try to find a way to opt out as soon as possible.
I wouldn't even have signed a deal. I'd have been like, get me out of here.
After last week, watching that offensive line just
Collapse.
beat the shit out of him. And I said it right out of the gate. Like, people were going to judge him for not playing well while he was running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
Trying to create a play.
Yeah, trying to create a play because he would catch the ball and have a defensive lineman in his face. Unfortunately, I don't see it being any different this week. But yeah. Real quick, so going back to one of our previous games, Cortland Sutton is apparently a game time decision for the Steelers game, but I'd be hesitant to see him play.
I don't think he'll play.
No, that'd be a hard one. But unfortunately, the Ravens are going to roll through this one. So another unanimous one. So you got KC going into Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Even though we kind of talked about this off camera, that typically this is a real fun matchup, especially in this division. Not that there's like more or less a hated rivalry, but it seems like they really like to turn things up a notch or two when they meet each other. But right now the Chargers are still trying to figure out what they're doing on offense, at least fully. And I think KC has too much offensive power to try to keep up with. Even though with Bosa and Melvin Ingram, even with Derwin James being down, that defense is still really nice. KC just has too many options and too many weapons.
Yeah. Which surprises me with Los Angeles is because 2 years ago, we saw the Rams in the Super Bowl. So, and to see them like struggle how they are now compared to like 2 years ago, I'm like, where are you going wrong? You know what I mean?
McVay,
huh?
You're thinking of the Rams. These are the Chargers.
Oh, fuck Christ. I'm thinking. Never mind.
This is why nobody picks with Sean.
Literally, I'm thinking just because it was always LA Rams. So, like,
yeah.
I mean, the Chargers. The Chargers have been
Justin
good.
Herbert.
What's that?
I said for the Chargers is when do you play Justin Herbert?
So
I don't know their schedule at all.
Honestly, preseason, not real preseason, but like before the season. Honestly, since obviously Herbert is my dog from Oregon, I was kind of looking at it. So I have a lot of faith in Tyrod Taylor. Where my faith kind of wearies is the last couple years he's been very not inconsistent, but like when hard times came, he had a hard time. And right now with that offense, obviously you still have Keenan Allen. White has been injured, but kind of working back from it. And you have a young running game. But they have the Chargers tonight. Panthers next week. Then you have the Bucks, Saints, and Jets.
Maybe the Jets.
Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of rookie teams with quarterbacks
will play him when he plays.
If you're having a question, unfortunately, I think the Jets are going to get that nod for a lot of rookie quarterbacks.
But then you could probably play him against the Dolphins and the Jags.
Yeah.
Like you could play them those 3 weeks.
It just depends on what Tyrod does.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't want to write him off.
Maybe the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But then they got the Jags, the Raiders, and the Broncos. Mm-hmm. So
you have a lot of room in there if Tyrod doesn't work it out that you can
Mhm.
come back to another option.
Whoops.
So out of the last ones that we have a split house on, so New England goes to Seattle. Now that I've said this out loud, I'm kind of mad at my pick.
Switch
So
it.
You'd be mad at your pick though.
So traditionally, trying to switch coasts in play is a hard one. Typically, it's harder at one. Thankfully, this is a night game. This is our Sunday night game. So it shouldn't pose as many bad things. But I still have faith in Cam in New England. But on the other coin, you also have Russell Wilson, which to me is a top 5, top 3 quarterback right now in the league.
Most underrated quarterback in the league.
Also underrated. Underrated to the fact that for a lot of years, and we talked about this kind of during the NFL offseason when we kind of started up into the trenches and then our roundtable. I feel like Russ has done, out of the NFL right now, Russ has done a lot more with a lot less than most other quarterbacks. I mean, there was like I think a 2-year span where he was leading his team in rushing and obviously passing. That's pretty interesting outside of somebody playing on Madden.
Yeah.
But I think, and like I was listening, like I said, I was listening to NFL Game Day, and they were talking about the reason they ran Cam so much last week was to really get defensive coordinators on their heels. Obviously, I have a lot of faith in Pete Carroll, and I forget who their defense coordinator is up there. But to have to get prepared for a running attack out of a quarterback and have to potentially get ready for him or the Patriots to completely switch gears and go to a full-on passing attack, which I think Cam is capable of.
That's what I was going to say is Cam ran a lot last week. Like, are they making him run so much because they don't have the faith with his passing ability yet?
I still lean towards what they said on game day, that they did it to scare people and because nobody had film on what they wanted to do. So now really the only film you have is Cam running the ball, the offense running the ball, and him only throwing 19 times, which I think was one of the lowest this past week. So now you have to, with such a small sample size, you have to prepare for Josh McDaniels' offense with the dynamic.
Yeah, but Edelman's questionable too for this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I don't think they're not faithful in Cam's passing ability. I think it's more questionable in their receiving ability. Because Edelman being your historically best wide receiver, and then right after him it falls N'Keal Harry, who had 5, 6 receptions off the season last year in his rookie year, and then James White after that, the running back.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I mean, you still have Sony. I mean, the Patriots have a dynamic running back situation. I mean, you have Sony Michel, you have James White. I don't know if Bolden's still healthy, but that was kind of their bruiser. But yeah, I'm excited for this game, mainly because I'll actually be able to watch the full game after work. But I'm excited to see how this game works out. So this is going to be another interesting one. So our Monday night game, it's going to be New Orleans versus the Raiders. So a quick change to this. It's not a unanimous. Last night, Courtney decided to change his pick to the Las Vegas Raiders, which I questioned it, but you know what? He's the guessing guru, so I'm just going to allow that to happen. And I have it in text message, so that's going to happen.
Doesn't he only have one more win than Sean?
Exactly. Sean's going to go 6-10 again, and Courtney's going to go 7-9.
No, I'm gonna go 13-3. You watch.
I feel like a lot of our what's funny is like a lot of our picks are all like what I say, not 8 of them are unanimous. So
Right.
either have 8 wins or 8 losses. Or a mixture, I guess.
Mixture.
But, again, this is another one that we talked off kind of camera and kind of talked about through talking about other teams. I just think New Orleans has too many weapons. Even with Michael Thomas being down, the team's
receiving core is just nasty.
I mean, them having to travel to Las Vegas might pose some kind of adversity, but with this veteran-led and veteran-based squad, I don't see much of an issue. Like I said, it's going to be another fun. This is only one game this week for Monday night, so I believe it's an 8:00 start. So again, thankfully, I'll be able to watch the full game. But like I said, I really like how the Saints have started out so far, and I think they're going to continue to progress.
They will.
Anything else you guys want to talk about? Any bold predictions, anything like that?
Super Bowl prediction. I'll say Kansas City versus New Orleans Saints in the Super Bowl.
Oh, so you're just throwing that one out there.
Mm-hmm. Pat Mahomes versus Drew Brees in Drew Brees' final year.
That would be sick. Bold predictions for the week. Watch Alvin Kamara in the Monday night game pick up his running ability. I know he had 43 yards last week, but he went through 2. No, he should have had 3 touchdowns, but he only got 2 because there was like a millisecond of him stepping out of bounds before the ball crossed.
Yeah.
Watch out for Todd Gurley against Dallas to have more of an involved game, even though their passing attack is disgusting.
Somebody posted a stat earlier, like the other day, and when Todd Gurley carries the ball 20 times, I think he's only I say he because he's obviously changed teams. He's only lost like a handful of games. When rushing over 25 times, he's undefeated, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's really.
I don't have any super bold predictions this week. I think a lot of the games are going to be very close this week.
A lot of defensive struggles.
Yeah, I think a lot of defensive struggles. But
the one bold prediction I will say is watch San Francisco have to actually rely on Jimmy Garoppolo because the Jets' run defense is pretty good.
Yeah, that's again, it's going to be another interesting day for the old Jets. But before we sign it off for the rest of the day so everybody can enjoy football, again, it's weather. It's fall weather now. Make sure you go get your Loudmouth hoodies. bombshellbowling.com/Loudmouth Sports Talk. Obviously, we still have our T-shirts in stock. Make sure you get your merch to rock your favorite sports channel this fall. Outside of that, obviously it being Sunday, tomorrow, Dame, you're live.
Yes, sir.
NBA has a couple days off.
8:30.
Yeah, NBA's got a couple days off, which will be nice. Kind of give you a break and give everybody else a break to catch up on basketball. Tuesdays, me and Court into the trenches. And then throughout the week, me and Court will talk about everything else. But everybody enjoy your Sundays. You guys enjoy watching football. I'm going to go to work, try to make some money, and then enjoy some football later tonight.
All
And as
right.
always,
All right.
run the damn ball.
Run the damn ball.
Ball.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later.